everyone, my name is Christine. I am going to begin working on a pineapple quilt today. I'm going to be using the Creative Grids pineapple trim tool. This works really good. I'm not sponsored by them. This is the ruler I am using. I have my black picked out. It's a Kona black. And then I'm going to go through, well, here. This is my string basket. So I'm just going to go through here and look for blues. I want to go ahead and make a sample block. With the pineapple trim tool, it tells you to cut your strips, see, any length as long as they are 1 3/4 inch to 2 inches wide. So I think that depends on whether or not you have a scant, which would be a narrow 1/4 inch seam, or a wide. I typically am a bit wider. I want to go ahead and make up a sample block, which will end up being in the quilt, but I just want to get it off my mind whether or not I'm going to be cutting my strips 1 3/4 or 2 inch. My black is going to be my dominant. Like on here you can see where the white is. I'm doing black for that. And then where the red is, that's where all the blues are going to be. I'm going to try the 2 inches wide first on this cut. And then I'm going to start my rounds on with my trim tool. Because I made this before, but it's been 3 years ago and I didn't make notes. So I will on this time. So I'm going to cut this at 2 inches. And if I can get away with 1 3/4 inch, then I'm going to do that. I want to make sure I don't get mixed up on my rounds here. So I'm going to use my painter's tape because it lets you know that the odd rounds are going to be one color and then your even rounds are another color. Wherever it's white, my color is going to be this black. So where it says on the ruler round 1 is over here, and then rounds 3, 5, and 7, I am putting that on my painter's tape. So rounds 1, 3, 5, 7. And now I'm going to use blue painter's tape, the even numbers, but I'm just going to put it over here. So I'm going to put blues, rounds 2, 4, 6, 8. My first center square, my 2.5 inch by 2.5 inch, this is not round 1. This does not count. Okay, so for the first round, I have my 2.5 inch square, and then I just have my black fabric folded in half, and so it just needs to cover that 2.5 inch. So I'm not going to cut it exactly 2.5 inches, cut off the selvage there, and I'm going to sew, let's see, I need 4 of those. And so I'm going to sew these 4 strips to these 4 sides. Okay, so on the ruler, it tells you which round you're on. So remember, the center square is not round 1. My blacks are my round 1. So this right here, this center square, I want to line that up with the center square, and this is my round 1. And so this is also helping me determine whether or not my strip sizes, if they are going to be, you know, if 1 3/4 inch works for me, or if I should cut at 2 inches. So it looks like this is pretty good. Okay, so there's round 1. Look, that's so cute. Okay, so my next round are going to be my blues. Like I said, I'm making mine totally scrappy. A lot of pineapple quilts will have this round all the same color. and then repeat the black, and then all the same color. I'm making mine totally scrappy. You see, I'm not losing my points though, so that's the main point. That's the main point. That's the main point too. So, okay, so here I have blues round 2, and I'm not ironing this. I think it'll be fine. So it says centering square round 2 right here. And so I am centering that with my center square. This is round 2, which is my blue. And so on your even rounds, you can cut both sides. Remember, you got that thick seam there. And so I did those 2, and then now I'll flip it over. What's also nice is it has these white dash lines here. So besides the center square, it also helps me so I can line up here. There's a lot of reference points on here that are really helpful. Okay, so there you go. So see right here, this one is cut off a little bit. I'm not too worried about it. I'll be able to hide that in my next seam. So my next round again is going to be my black round. Okay, so I'm cutting round 3. So 1, 2, 3. And round 3 does not have a center square. Rounds 3, 5, and 7 all use this 45-degree angle trim line. And this trim line gets lined up right here. And so I am just making this line straight on there. But I'm also trying to line up these dotted lines as well. So there's a solid white line that helps go through. So when I cut this off, it looks like you're cutting off the corner, and you are cutting off that corner. And so we will make these 4 cuts. And this is what it's supposed to look like. These corners are supposed to be cut off. So you'll see that right there, that's okay. And it's nice, this diagram is super helpful. Their instructions are very clear, and these come with the tool. Okay, so I have a majority of my fabrics cut. At the very end of each block, they call them rabbit ears, and those you need, for each block you need 4 of them, and those need to be 2.5 inches by 4 inches. And so I have all of those cut. I went ahead and cut my scrappy strips. I made them into 3 piles. One pile is going to be for the first round or 2, and then I made a medium pile. So these are ones that are a little bit longer. And then I have a big pile of just super long strips. These will be for those later rounds. I don't want to make all of my first rounds right away. I'm probably going to do them in increments of maybe 20 or 25. That way, if there are pieces that turn out to be small or medium at the end of a long strip, I will still be able to utilize those for the later blocks. So it's going to be a quilter's workout kind of day, I think. So you'll see, like on this piece here, I didn't cut it straight. I just sewed them on and, you know, ironed them open, because this doesn't matter. These don't need to be straight. When I sew the next black strips on both sides of these, I only need to cover the blue part here, as well as 1/4 of an inch past that. I don't need to cover this entire side. I only need to cover this much. So with a long piece like that to help conserve fabric, I know I only need 1/4 of an inch here. So I'm just going up about a 1/2 inch or so. Instead of going all the way to the edge of this piece here, because I don't need to, because it's going to be cut off at an angle like that when I go. So all of this is going to be cut off. So I only need to go about 1/4 of an inch past, but I still like to be, you know, safe, on the safe side. So I just come through and just cut that off, and then I'll put this on my next one. Okay, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the different rounds and as you're building out your block. These instructions are so very helpful and they gave me confidence. It's been a couple years since I've made this block. If I would have gone and looked at the instructions, I wouldn't have kind of freaked out a little bit. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So here is round, remember we don't count the center square. This is round 1 and 2. So see how the sides are all even after I trim them up. So round 2. Here is round 3. 1, 2, 3. So you notice that like this right here, you know, so the next color I'm adding, oh, let me go back here. So the next color I'm adding here is going to be the black on all 4 sides, right? So I'm not going to have any problem with my seams or nothing like that. So this next one, my next color I'm adding is my blue, are my blue fabrics, but I have this gap on all of them, and I was like, okay, you know, I checked 1, 2, 3, round 3, and it's showing, okay, that's what it's going to look like. Those being off is okay. So I was like, okay, so then let's see. Here is round 1, 2, 3, 4, round 4. Well, see these gaps here, they're getting wider. And I was like, okay, so I checked round 4 and it's showing, okay, there is a gap, you know, so where their white is where my black is. So that is wider, that's okay. And then these corners are pretty, there's quite a bit of a gap. So I was like, okay, that's okay. Well then let's see, this one here, I was kind of fronting over, and here, let me show you why. So this is round 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is finished, and I started on 6. Well, when I was doing it, I was like, well, wait a second. So you can see what I was doing. So this side, I went through with my blacks and I made them bigger because I was like, when I added my blues, can you see that gap there? I was like, well, shoot, when I sew my blue strip on this side, there's no way my 1/4 inch seam is going to fill that in. So I went, you know, on this initial side, and I had made these blacks bigger. I took them out, and instead of using a 2-inch strip, I used a 2.5 inch strip, thinking like, God, it should look like this, but it doesn't. Actually, this is okay. What I'm doing is building out here, and here is how I know that. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I'm working on round 6. So with this ruler, you can make a 6-inch block, an 8-inch block, or a 10-inch block. I'm making the 10-inch block. So if I was only making a 6-inch block, I would go ahead and start putting on my rabbit ears. But I am making the 10-inch block. So let's see, where is it? So round 6. So see how they're showing, like, when I do trim it, I'm just trimming off here, and when it's finished, this is okay. It should look like that. I'm not having to fill in those gaps because it's all just gonna trim out okay. The other part that I know is this part right here. See that? So see where this corner is? When I was laying, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, make sure 6. When I was laying round 6 on my center square, when I was like, okay, when I trim this up, there's enough here. But over here, I was like, well, that's not gonna fit in the 1/4 inch seam. It doesn't need to. I don't have to worry about it. It's as you're making the block bigger, you're just adding out here and out here because everything's cut at an angle. So I'm just telling you that there's nothing wrong with the pattern, nothing wrong with the ruler. It's just a little bit of your traditional quilting rules. You know, you have to kind of think outside the box and just trust in the ruler and trust in the instructions. Okay, so here is that initial square I was talking to you about that had the gaps. So I'm going to go ahead and trim it up so you can see what I'm talking about, that these gaps, as you build out further on these higher number rounds, that is expected. So remember I said I made these 2.5 inches. You'll see, because I checked before I start filming, to show that I didn't need to do that. So round 6, so I'm putting that on my center square. On rounds, your even rounds 2, 4, 6, and 8, you can lay the ruler down and cut on both sides. You don't have to turn it for each side. The rounds 1, 3, 5, and 7, you have to turn your ruler for all 4 sides. So here you can see where I added the additional black fabric. That's all going to end up being cut off because I didn't need to do that. Okay, this is round 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm cutting the black fabric on round 7, which is this white line. And I'm kind of just putting it, you know, where the black meets this blue fabric. I'm putting the white line just on the top of that. And since this is an odd round, I have to cut all 4 sides individually. Okay, we're on round 8. So remember, not the center square. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're doing the blue. So blue 8. It's my last black square on here. Okay, so after round 8, the instructions say, so for finishing the block, we need to just trim up this corner. So we take this white angle line. It's not called round 9. I think I'll put a note on here to call this part round 9, because after I trim this up, then we put the rabbit ears on. Now we sew the rabbit ears onto these 4 corners. Okay, I have the rabbit ears sewn on. It's late. Okay, so the final step is to trim these up, and it says to use the square from round 8. So that black center square. So I am marking that on this side. I'm doing rabbit ears is round 10, use 8. Okay, there it is. I think it's so pretty. Oh, so beautiful. Oh, I love it. What do you think? I can't wait to make the rest of them. These, the final rounds, they just went by so quickly. Okay, I wanted to give an update on how my blocks are going. So over there I have my first block that I completed, and it's nice to have it there so I can look at it for reference. I do find that there is quite a bit of waste in doing a pineapple quilt block, but this is such an easy method to do, and I tell you what, I'm able to get through a lot of scrap fabric. I'm glad that I started off doing, I think I have 10 or 11 done, but when I was cutting, you'll see I got some pieces that that I'm going to be able to use on some of these. You know, when I am making a quilt, I get tired of looking at the fabric. So, I don't want to get to where I don't want to work on this quilt anymore because I have to finish it. So I am going to grab my pile, and I'm probably gonna, I don't know, do in half and just try to get through these ones. You know, I have a couple in the works, but I just want to try to get through some of these first steps and just get through it. So, but it is super fun to make. Okay, everyone, I wanted to give you an update on how it's going with my pineapple quilt. So I have gotten towards the end of my Kona black bolt. It was a 10-yard bolt, and I am almost out of fabric, and I don't have all of my blocks done. I've used about 8.5 yards of black on there, and that is on me. When I made my initial block to start off with, I did my strips 2 inches wide because I have a 1/4 inch foot, I have a wide seam allowance, and I thought, okay, I'll just do that. And I didn't figure math in ahead of time, but so I have gone through a lot of black fabric. So I could order more in, but I can't guarantee that it's going to be the same dye lot and it's going to match. I have taken other blacks from my stash and taken it outside with this to see if I could blend it in there, and it just doesn't, it's just not going to work. So I have chosen to take the blocks that I have and figure up, I'm going to make the blocks 8 across by 9 down. So I need 72 blocks. So, and then I'm going to add, hopefully I'll have enough of the black fabric to where I could do a black inner border, a 2.5 inch inner border. And then I have some dark gray grunge fabric that I'm going to use for the outer border. So I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about how sometimes when you start off with a project, you may run into something like this. So you can just adjust it and change your sizes and work with it that way. The instructions are written beautifully. I thought that I would be okay with doing the 2 inch wide strips, but I really didn't think that I would go through that much of the black fabric. So I changed as I started going through, and I was like, boy, I'm using a lot of this fabric. I changed my presser foot and got away from my 1/4 inch foot, and I did this foot so that I can do that scant 1/4 inch seam, which is what the instructions said. I should have just followed the instructions, but I have trouble with instructions. But it's all going to still turn out beautifully. So I went through and adjusted my notes so that, you know, in making this again, as far as making a real big one, then I can adjust it. The instructions are written beautifully. I guess I'm just not
good at following instructions. So anyway, so I just wanted to give you an update on that and how, you know, when you run into trouble or, you know, whatever your final thought is for whatever quilt you're going to make, sometimes that's going to happen. You're going to run out of fabric, you know, and so you can just adjust it by adding borders. You can add as many borders as you want. This is your quilt. You are making something unique that is not going to be duplicated anywhere else. And I guarantee whoever has it would love it. I do have a stack of blocks that I had been making along the way. I didn't finish all my blocks. I did them in stages. So I still have a stack of, yeah, these are the 6-inch sizes. So I'm probably going to take these, see how many I have, and just make a smaller quilt out of it. I might even border it out, maybe do like sashing and cornerstones on it. I don't know. That'll be a bonus project. Okay, I have my 72 blocks done. So I'm going to do 8 blocks across and 9 blocks down. When I am doing a scrappy quilt like this, I don't lay it out on the floor or put it on my design curtain thing over there. I just kind of make a couple of piles because there are so many different blues in here. And I turn these into 4 patches. I'm not sure how many 4 patches, but then I will need 8 separate blocks for doing that 9th row. So I'll leave 8 blocks out. Basically what I'm doing is I'm going to make them into 4 patches. And then I'm completing my quilt top. And then I will add that row. I hope you have enjoyed my pineapple quilt video. Thank you for watching, everyone. Have a great day.